that the UK government has now sanctioned Roman Abramovich this morning. What does it mean for him? What does it mean for Chelsea? Chelsea fans getting in touch in big numbers. You can get in touch, send me a message, 81089. Any questions that you've got, I will pass them to the man on my right, Mr. Simon Jordan, who's doing his best to make sense of what is going on. But if anybody can make sense of this, it's Simon. We heard from Matt Lawton, the chief sports correspondent, and Matt has been working on the story non-stop this morning. Of course, what we now know is that Abramovich, all of his UK assets have been frozen. Is the sale of the club on hold? Yes, it is. But Simon, you still tell us that there is a way around that, if that's the right phraseology, and that the club can still be sold in the coming days, coming weeks, what?
Well, of course, because ultimately what the bottom line is that as long as the asset and none of the asset is realisable by Roman Abramovich, then there is no reason to stop the sale. The problem with the disposal of the club is that if there's any whiff or any indication that Abramovich gets any of this money, then therein becomes the problem. But if they're able to separate, which they will be able to, Abramovich will engage people to sell it. The people that are selling it will coordinate with the government. The people that are buying it will make it a condition precedent that the funds that they pay for it don't go anywhere near Abramovich, and all those three things will meet in a Venn diagram.
Can you make sure that it doesn't?
Well, of course you can.
How can you ensure that none of the funds go to Abramovich?
Because the purchaser will determine where the funds go to. The receiver of the funds will be not Roman Abramovich, will be a vehicle that's been set up, I imagine, by the government and the sales agents, and that money stays in there and isn't released anywhere in any shape or form until everyone knows where it's being released to. Now, of course, Abramovich alluded to this ideal that it was going towards all the victims of the invasion and the war in Ukraine, and that will have to be determined. But it's very unlikely that you're going to stop something being sold if you can control where the distribution of the money is going to. So if the money goes...
but that's a tricky bit.
Well, not really, because if you've set up a vehicle that the government are involved in and that vehicle receives the funds and it can't go anywhere, whatever those funds are. And here comes the next question, is how much now do the purchasers have to pay for this football club?
Well, that's right.
They will see an opportunity to leverage the price down. And of course, then the argument is, do they want to do that? Because if Abramovich is true to his word and the proceeds of this disposal are going to go to the Ukrainian War Fund, every pound you take off the purchase price is one less pound that goes to the victims of the Ukrainian war. So with that in mind, you see yourself in a slight conundrum if you're a purchaser.
I mean, the buyers will want the best deal possible. Days ago, before this blew up, Abramovich wanted $3 billion.
Yeah, but again, go to the argument. Abramovich wanted $3 billion because that's the market value, perceived market value of Chelsea. If Abramovich is not getting one single ruble of that, then all he's doing is holding the market value for the benefit of others.
Yeah.
And those others are the tragic victims of this, this awful situation in Ukraine. So there does have to be an element of the balance between getting market value, of which Abramovich has no benefit from, as long as he has no benefit from it, and it's not difficult to establish no benefit. If the government have sanctioned it and the government are involved in the disposal, then the solution has to be, there has to be a solution for Chelsea, right? It can't be Chelsea Football Club that gets diminished by Roman Abramovich's actions. He's already stepped out and said, I'm not taking a single dime of that. Okay, we're going to hold you to that. So we're going to control the sale process. Not you, and not your advisors on their own. We're going to control the sale process, whether it's a DCMS or whether it's another government body. We're going to control the disposal of this asset, and we're going to hold the funds that this asset's been sold for, and we're going to distribute it to a party that is in line with what you've suggested the party's going to get from it.
So hang on, the DCMS could control the sale process. That's an option, is
the
it?
DCMS and the government could be involved in the sale process.
Julian Knight's about to come on.
Well, Julian can speak to that then, can't he?
Simon, big questions coming in. I think I know the answers to some, but only you can answer them accurately. There's a fan there asking, what happens to the TV rights of live matches?
They're preordained deals.
Right.
They're done. They've already been paid for and bought and paid for in a pre-existing deal, in the same way that season tickets have already paid for their tickets.
Okay.
So those deals are done. It's revenue going forward that Chelsea can't collect.
Jim, ask Simon, how does this affect Chelsea fans if they get to the semi-final and final of the FA Cup, they get to the Champions League final, because season tickets don't apply for those games?
Well, there is one of the circles that you might not be able to square, because the revenue that goes in to the cup ties are distributed equally amongst the clubs, and the clubs will have to take a view about how they overcome that. No one wants to diminish the product, but the balance is how do you put something into a stadium that has no value attached to it, no revenue attached to it. The big thing is about revenue going into Chelsea. You cannot collect any more revenue.
Right.
So if there's a mechanism that revenue cannot be collected, or the clubs agree that this game doesn't get played with ticket revenue being attached to it,
right,
then that may well be the solution.
Simon, many of them asking this, many fans asking this. I'm a season ticket holder. Can I renew my season ticket for next season?
Can't do anything at the moment.
You can't?
No, of course not. because at this moment in time, that's revenue going forward. That's not revenue going backwards.
Right.
The revenue that the season ticket holders have paid for this season, they've already bought and paid for. So it's like if you bought a season ticket on a credit card and the club went bust, the credit card company would refund you because they've guaranteed the fact that you've paid for something in advance and you haven't yet received it. You can't now, I suspect, buy revenue for next year. Buy tickets for next year.
Wow. So that's one that's certainly many fans asking that, Simon. If I want to renew my season ticket, which I do, at the moment you're telling me I can't.
There'll be no appetite for the government to stop the sale of Chelsea. There'll be an absolute doubling down of their appetite to stop any of the proceeds going to Abramovich.
Yeah.
And those two things will meet in a Venn diagram. He's not getting the money, but we don't want to stop the sale. Because it makes no sense to stop the sale. As long as we can make sure that there's a wall between Abramovich and what he said and what happens, then we'll be comfortable in allowing an asset to be disposed of.
Right.
And I suspect Julian Knight from the DCMS will come on and support some of that thinking without necessarily understanding or knowing what the framework currently looks like.
Okay, well, what we know is that the sale of the football club is on hold. The suggestion is the DCMS, the government department, may become involved in the sale process. So the chair of the DCMS, Julian Knight MP, is going to join us very shortly. All this happening on the morning that the UK government sanctioned Abramovich.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.